We've taken a stack of sources that you, our listener, have provided. Everything from police affidavits and court transcripts to personal notes and news articles. And we are diving deep into a case that starts in paradise, but quickly descends into a shocking tale of premeditation and violence.
It really does.
We begin on the stunning island of Oahu, Hawaii. The setting is spectacular, serene, and as we'll find out, profoundly misleading.
Indeed. We are focused on the Nanupali, or Pali Puka Lookout Trail. And if you've ever Googled dangerous Hawaiian hikes, this is often near the top of the list.
Really? So it's known for this?
Oh, absolutely. It's known for its stunning 1,000-foot drops, but it is also difficult, incredibly steep, slick with dew, and completely lacking in guardrails. It's not a casual stroll.
The date was March 18th, 2025. And this was, on the surface, a romantic trip meant to celebrate the 36th birthday of Dr. Ariel Koenig, a brilliant nuclear engineer. She was there with her husband, Dr. Gerhard Koenig, who was 46, a highly respected anesthesiologist. From the outside, they were the definition of professional success and stability.
The power couple. But that facade shattered, and I mean violently, right there on the trail. Tourists nearby heard these blood-curdling screams echoing off the rock face.
Horrifying.
When first responders arrived, they found Ariel Koenig severely injured. Her husband, Dr. Koenig, the anesthesiologist, had completely vanished. He'd fled into the dense, unforgiving Hawaiian wilderness.
This deep dive is our mission to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge from your sources. They detail not just the immediate violence, but years of hidden domestic abuse, the shocking, chilling premeditation involving specialized medical tools, and the contentious legal battle that followed over the very definition of criminal intent.
And this case is such a chilling study of duality. How a person entrusted with life-saving skills can actually weaponize that knowledge.
Right.
And then how the legal system struggles to reconcile a lack of lethal outcome with what seems to be overwhelming evidence of murderous intent.
So our core question today is how a relationship that looks so picture-perfect on social media could culminate in an attempted murder charge. And what does the evidence, specifically the propofol, the location, and this sustained attack, what does that reveal about the suspect's state of mind?
A lot, as we're about to see.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So to truly grasp the severity of the alleged crime, we really have to first establish who these individuals were. The professional status they held it becomes central to the argument of control and premeditation.
Okay.
Gerhard Koenig, originally from South Africa, had an incredibly demanding career as an anesthesiologist. He was a veteran of the UPMC system, working in complex surgical environments where focus and mental control are paramount.
Right, you have someone's life in your hands. You have to be calm.
Exactly. He had the reputation of being calm, collected, and trustworthy in a super high-stakes environment.
And Ariel Koenig was his equal, if not, his superior in sheer academic brilliance. She holds a PhD and is a nuclear engineer.
An incredibly demanding field.
Absolutely. It demands analytical sharpness, a meticulous approach to detail. And sources describe her as not just focused and highly competent in project management, but also genuinely nice and approachable.
They married quickly, back in 2018. The sources suggest they bonded over this shared ambition, this shared world of science. They went on to have 2 young sons, Olin, born in 2020, and a second son, born just in 2023.
So this was the outward image. The power couple, successful, educated, building a family, the whole package.
And that outward image was, it seems it was relentlessly curated. Your sources are just filled with details about the social media presence they maintained.
I saw some of that. Smiling beach photos, matching family shirts.
All of it. Captions about love and commitment. And it worked. Neighbors and colleagues described them as the quintessential, polite, family-friendly, quiet, no public disturbances, the house always calm. It was a calculated performance of domestic tranquility.
But the sources revealed that beneath that calm surface, trust began eroding around 2023. And it wasn't the kind of violent, loud fighting that, draw the police attention.
No, it was much more subtle.
Yeah.
A psychological decline. Ariel became palpably quieter. She seemed tense and distant, often looking exhausted.
And Gerhard.
He simultaneously became more withdrawn from colleagues and his community, focusing all his energy inward on their relationship, which really meant focusing on controlling her.
So it's this slow, quiet poison seeping into the marriage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that slow erosion escalated dramatically into a pattern of severe controlling behavior in late 2023. Gerhard, without any basis in reality, developed this extreme suspicion and jealousy.
Out of nowhere.
It seems that way. He began questioning Ariel's loyalty constantly, demanding to read her text messages and listen to her calls. He was tracking her movements, often checking in or showing up unexpectedly during her work video calls.
Wow.
All while maintaining that calm, detached professionalism to the outside world.
What's fascinating here is how the sources describe this control mechanism. Because he was so outwardly calm and rational, when he demanded access to her private life, he framed it as a logical necessity.
Logical necessity? What does that even mean?
He'd say it was to quell his anxiety. He shifted the blame to her for creating the dishonesty that made him suspicious in the first place. He was using that detached surgical professionalism to mask this deep-seated volatility and paranoia.
That is deeply manipulative.
Yeah.
And that psychological warfare then escalated to physical violence. The reports detail that Gerhard physically struck Ariel when she refused intimacy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He interpreted her resistance or even just hesitation as a personal attack on his character and his authority.
And she kept this a secret.
Crucially, yes. She kept these physical assaults secret. She feared that if she told anyone, the situation would escalate, or terrifyingly, that no one would believe her given the perfect, highly successful image they projected to the world.
Of course, who would believe that the calm, respected Dr. Koenig was an abuser?
It's a classic tragic trap.
So she had these 2 young children, a shared life, this enormous emotional investment in keeping the professional facade intact, even as she became increasingly terrified.
By December 2024, the situation was untenable. Gerhard accused her of having an affair, driven by this extreme jealousy.
And did they seek help?
They tried family counseling, which, according to the sources, Gerhard just weaponized. He would admit to the strain in the marriage, but then deflect all the blame back onto Ariel for her perceived dishonesty.
So it was just another tool for control.
It seems so. She was in a terrible position. She also attended private counseling, where she expressed deep fear about his unpredictable nature. Yet she still clung to hope that the man she married could somehow be saved or reformed.
The decision to leave a marriage of that scale, with shared assets and 2 small children, is never easy.
It's monumental. And tragically, it seems Gerhard made the decision for her by planning the trip to Oahu in March 2025, ostensibly for her birthday, as the setting for the alleged murder.
So it's clear the motive was rooted in this extreme corrosive jealousy and this desperate need for control over a woman who was equally brilliant and successful.
A success he seemingly resented or feared?
And that takes us from the motive to the plan itself. If the first section establishes the motive, this extreme controlling jealousy, this next section establishes the premeditation, which is really the cornerstone of the attempted murder charge.
Absolutely. This wasn't a spontaneous eruption of violence. It was a plan meticulously crafted using his environment and his profession.
So talk us through that.
Okay, so Gerhard Koenig planned the entire birthday trip to Oahu. He arranged for their 2 young sons to be left in Maui with a babysitter.
So it's just the 2 of them.
Just the 2 of them. And the destination wasn't a luxury spa or a resort beach. It was the New Wanali Lookout, the Pali Puka Trail.
We need to spend some time on this location because it is premeditation point 1, the location as a weapon. Why this trail?
The sources make it painfully clear. This trail, known for its beauty, is infamous precisely because it is so dangerous. It involves traversing steep, slick rock formations directly bordering a sheer drop of over 1,000 feet.
1,000 feet.
With absolutely no guardrails or safety mechanisms. For Koenig, this setting maximized the chances of a fatal fall that could be perfectly disguised as a tragic hiking accident.
It provides plausible deniability.
Exactly. It speaks volumes about the planning involved. He selected a naturally deadly location.
That immediately undercuts any future defense argument about spontaneous emotional stress. You don't accidentally hike to the most lethal, unguarded cliff edge on the island.
You really don't. And Ariel herself reportedly felt dizzy and worried due to the height and the wet ground. But Koenig insisted they continue right up to the edge.
Pushing her comfort zone, pushing her boundaries.
And the plan, he didn't stop with the geography. It extended into his professional toolkit. This is premeditation point 2, weaponizing medical expertise.
Okay.
As Ariel struggled and fought back after the initial confrontation, Koenig reached into his waistbag and pulled out an already loaded injector containing a clear liquid.
An already loaded injector, not something you fumble with in the moment.
No, it was ready to go. And this leads us to the smoking gun, which was the post-attack discovery. After Ariel returned home and regained some stability, she searched a place Koenig used for personal storage, a hip pack hidden behind old boxes in the garage.
And what did she find?
What she found confirmed the state's theory. his hospital ID, unused syringes, vials, and a sealed package of Propofol bearing the brand name Deep Praying.
Propofol. Okay, we have to be crystal clear about this. This is not a painkiller or a minor tranquilizer.
Not at all. Propofol is a powerful intravenous anesthetic and sedative. In a hospital setting, it's used to induce or maintain deep unconsciousness during surgery.
The stuff Michael Jackson died from.
The very same. It is notorious for having a very narrow therapeutic window, meaning the difference between a therapeutic dose and a lethal dose is extremely small.
So tell us what happens if you administer Propofol without supervision.
The sources confirm the lethal risk. Propofol causes two immediate critical physiological effects. First, a sudden, rapid drop in blood pressure. That's called hypotension. Second, it causes profound respiratory depression, often leading to full respiratory arrest. Your breathing just stops.
So outside of a surgical suite, with an expert like Koenig standing by with intubation and monitoring equipment ready,
it is a guaranteed killer. If you inject someone on a remote cliff trail, they will quickly lose consciousness, their breathing will stop, and they will die.
And this is where the professional element is so key. The prosecution argued that Koenig wasn't just bringing some random poison, he was bringing a drug he knew intimately.
Right. He knew the precise lethal dose, the speed of onset, and the guaranteed outcome.
But this raises a question that I have to ask. How did he, an anesthesiologist, acquire a sealed, tracked, controlled substance like Propofol to take on a personal trip?
That's the million-dollar question. And the implication of his access is fascinating. Controlled substances in hospitals require rigorous tracking, often involving automated dispensing systems and multiple signatures.
You can't just walk out with it.
Not easily. For Koenig to possess a sealed package implies either methodical theft over time, leveraging his authority to override inventory checks, or utilizing a gap in the system reserved for high-volume users like anesthesiologists.
So either way, it's a deliberate act.
Either way, it demonstrates a calculated abuse of his medical power. He didn't just misuse his power, he corrupted the very tools of his trade.
So the prosecution has 3 pillars supporting that's criminal intent, before the attack even physically began.
Let's list them.
1. The calculated choice of the deadly location. 2. The premeditated procurement of a potent professional anesthetic.
And 3. His specialized knowledge of how to use that drug to kill and make it look like a heart attack or a fall after a sudden loss of consciousness.
Exactly. This combination strongly suggests that his actions were not impulsive. The state alleges this was a carefully orchestrated plot to commit a murder disguised as an accident.
And that's the foundation upon which the entire attempted murder charge rests. The sources detailed this terrifying, rapid sequence of events that clearly demonstrates Koenig's sustained determination to end Ariel's life.
And it all started with such a mundane, modern request.
A selfie. The incident began with a subtle, chilling trigger, the request for a selfie.
A selfie at the most precarious spot, right next to that 1,000-foot drop. Ariel refused, stating she felt dizzy and wanted to move back from the wet, steep edge.
And that refusal was interpreted by Koenig not as a safety concern, but as an act of defiance.
Need to flip the switch.
It flipped the switch on his plan. He yelled at her, and then the assault began. Attempt 1, the push. He grabbed her shoulders and pushed her hard down the slope toward the cliff edge.
Terrifying.
She slipped on the wet rock, but instinctively her body fought back. She managed to grab the ground, stabilizing herself. This minor resistance, this failure to fall, enraged Koenig, but also confirmed to Ariel that this was not a joke or an accident.
And while she was fighting to hold on to the slick ground, he immediately executed attempt 2, the injection.
Right. He reached into his pack and pulled out the loaded syringe containing the clear liquid, the Propofol, intending to disable or kill her instantly.
But she fought back.
Ariel, recognizing the immediate deadly danger of that injection, fought back with this desperate, adrenaline-fueled strength. She grabbed the injector and managed to throw it away from the scene.
That one move.
That single act of resistance likely saved her life from the chemical component of his plan.
But Koenig was not deterred. Foiled in his attempts to make the death look like an accident or an incapacitation, he escalated to just raw violence. Attempt 3, blunt force trauma.
The sources detail him picking up a rock, described as being the size of a fist or a small softball, and commencing a brutal assault.
How many times?
He bashed her head repeatedly. The affidavit estimates a shocking 10 times, targeting her face, her forehead, and her temple. He also grabbed her hair and smashed her face into the ground, just maximizing the impact. This level of sustained violence, following 2 prior lethal attempts, strongly conveys the singularity of his goal: murder.
Her final defense mechanism was pure instinct.
It was. She bit Koenig's shoulder with immense force, causing him to briefly let go. Simultaneously, she screamed loudly and desperately for help. That cry was the final critical factor.
Someone heard her.
The sources indicate that 2 hikers nearby heard her screams, "Help! Help me!" and rushed to investigate. They saw Koenig hunched over a bloody figure, still holding the rock.
And they called 911.
Immediately. The sight of witnesses caused Koenig, ever the professional calculating the outcome, to abandon the victim and flee into the dense brush, evading police for nearly 8 hours.
What about Ariel? What was her condition?
Ariel Koenig was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. She suffered multiple deep cuts and lacerations requiring stitches across her face and scalp. She had extensive bruising, defensive wounds on her hands.
From trying to block the blows.
Exactly. Broken nails and cuts, consistent with trying to guard her head, and likely a broken right thumb. She was also diagnosed with a slight traumatic brain injury, leading to symptoms like headaches and dizziness.
That sounds incredibly serious.
It was horrific. But the medical classification was eventually deemed serious but stable. And crucially for the defense team, not life-threatening.
And that detail became the primary wedge the defense tried to drive into the prosecution's argument.
It did. They shifted the focus from Koenig's intent to the actual outcome.
So once he was apprehended, Gerhard Koenig was formally charged with attempted second-degree murder. That's a class manager. A felony in Hawaii that carries a potential maximum sentence of life in prison.
A life sentence.
He predictably pleaded not guilty, and the courtroom battle immediately centered on that single challenging word, intent.
Deputy Prosecutor Joel Garner laid out the state's theory, emphasizing the sustained nature of the attack. They argued that Koenig threatened Ariel's life in 3 things in a row to carry out the plan: the push, the injection, and the rock.
The sequence.
The sequence. It demonstrated a clear, determined, and sustained intention to kill, or mens rea. For the state, the fact that she survived was incidental. The intent was demonstrably present.
But the defense, led by Thomas Otake, had a 2-pronged counterargument. First, they claimed no planning ahead.
Of course.
They insisted the attack was a crime of passion committed under extreme emotional stress. They tried to paint Koenig as a man who just snapped, not a calculating murderer.
And their second, arguably more dangerous, point leveraged that medical reality we just talked about. By emphasizing that Ariel's injuries were not permanent, did not hurt vital organs, and did not result in a major concussion, they attempted to argue that the lack of a lethal outcome suggested he didn't truly mean to finish the act.
Wait, I need to stop you there. This is a critical point of law that the listener needs fully clarified. The defense is trying to argue that if you intend to kill someone, but you fail, you are somehow less guilty. How does that work in Hawaii law?
It's a classic legal maneuver. They're trying to conflate attempted murder with aggravated assault.
Okay, break that down for us.
Attempted murder only requires 2 things. 1, the criminal intent, mens rea, to commit the murder, and 2, a substantial step toward committing that murder.
And the push, the injection, the rock.
Those certainly constitute substantial steps. The success or failure of the act is secondary to the intent.
Whereas aggravated assault.
Aggravated assault focuses on the outcome, causing serious bodily injury, which generally means injury that creates a substantial risk of death, or causes serious permanent disfigurement, or prolonged loss or impairment of the function of any bodily member or organ.
I see. So by focusing on the fact that Ariel Koenig was stabilized and her injuries were not permanently debilitating.
The defense hoped to convince a jury that Koenig achieved the result of an assault, not a murder attempt.
That is a cynical, but potentially effective argument for a jury. If the victim is fine, maybe he didn't mean to go all the way. But the prosecution has one piece of evidence that directly dismantles the claim of emotional stress.
And that's Koenig's own words. Precisely. After he fled, he made a video call to his son Emil and confessed. He stated clearly, "I tried to kill Ari, but she got away. I'm going to kill myself."
That's about as direct as it gets.
This admission is direct proof of murderous intent. It obliterates the defense's narrative of a purely emotional collapse or a sudden snap of rage because he explicitly stated his goal.
So how does the defense even try to mitigate that damning confession?
The attempt to frame it within the context of his subsequent suicidal threats. They argue that the statement was made in a moment of extreme despair and irrationality, not as a rational declaration of pre-planned mens rea.
So they're saying he was just babbling, not thinking clearly.
That's the argument. that he was overwhelmed by guilt and fear, and the confession was merely a symptom of his mental breakdown, not proof of a calculated intent formed days or weeks prior.
But that seems like a tough sell.
It's an exceptionally difficult argument to sustain, especially when you couple it with the propofol, the location, and the 3 sequential attacks. The legal standard for the prosecution remains fixed. Did he take a substantial step toward murder with the specific intent to kill? The evidence, it overwhelmingly suggests yes.
Following the grand jury indictment and the sheer weight of the evidence presented, the question moved to whether Koenig would be released pending trial.
And the initial bail set was, well, it was extraordinary. $5 million.
$5 million. That's not just a high number, it's a strategic legal maneuver, isn't it? It essentially guarantees pre-trial detention.
That's precisely right.
Especially for someone like a doctor who might have a high net worth, but it's all tied up in illiquid assets.
That's the key. In legal terms, this is often called pre-trial detention under the guise of a bail amount. To post $5 million, even with a standard 10% bail bond, you need $500,000 in liquid cash, plus collateral for the rest.
And most people don't have that sitting in a checking account.
No. While Koenig was highly paid, the sources indicate that many high-income professionals are house rich but cash poor. Their wealth is tied up in mortgages, retirement funds, complex assets, not $500,000 in readily accessible savings. The bail was functionally unpayable.
So the defense fought hard.
They did. They argued for a typical, much lower amount, perhaps $100,000. They emphasized his clean criminal record prior to this event, his professional status, and they claimed he was not a flight risk.
Which is an interesting claim.
A very interesting claim. They pointed out his U.S. passport was seized, his bank accounts were frozen by court order, and his South African passport was either invalid or unavailable.
But I have to stop you. The defense arguing he wasn't a flight risk strains credulity, given that he literally fled the scene of the crime and evaded law enforcement for nearly 8 hours in the wild.
Exactly. His actions immediately after the event were the very definition of a flight risk. It's a bold argument to make in front of a judge.
So despite the defense's efforts to emphasize his professional status and frozen assets, what did the judge decide?
The judge ultimately denied bail entirely, ordering Koenig held without release at the Oahu Community Correctional Center, or OCCC.
That's a huge step, a very rare step for a first-time violent offender who is a doctor. What was the explicit justification?
The judge's decision was rooted entirely in public safety and the demonstrated risk factors. They prioritized the safety of the survivor over the defendant's professional liberty. There were 3 major points.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, the judge cited his actual conduct. Koenig had fled the scene and evaded police, proving he would disregard court mandates if it suited him. He couldn't be trusted.
Makes sense. What's number 2?
The chilling confession and suicidal ideation. His admission, "I tried to kill Ari," coupled with the suicidal threats, demonstrated profound mental instability and unpredictability. This wasn't just a threat to himself, it indicated a high likelihood of erratic and dangerous behavior, especially toward the victim.
And the third, the one that's most specific to his profession.
Right. His repeated, calculated attempts to kill the victim, combined with his professional access to lethal drugs like Propofol, proved he was an immediate and sustained danger to Ariel Koenig.
So the judge was basically saying his skills made him more of a threat.
Exactly. The judge essentially stated that Koenig's knowledge and access meant that no level of bail or electronic monitoring could guarantee the victim's safety. The detention was necessary to neutralize a sophisticated threat who weaponized his profession.
The denial of bail sent a very strong message. Professional status will not shield you from the consequences of severe premeditated violence. It completely stripped away his ability to operate freely, hire expensive resources, or interfere with the case outside of OCCC.
And the criminal charges initiated an avalanche of professional and financial ruin for Dr. Koenig. It illustrates that the consequences of this alleged crime extended far, far beyond the courtroom.
His entire career structure built on trust was instantly dismantled. We're talking about a man who specialized in high-stakes anesthesia. Trust is everything. What were the immediate professional penalties?
They were absolute. Maui Memorial Medical Center, where he worked as an independent contractor through an affiliate of Kaiser Permanente, immediately suspended all his medical staff privileges.
Suspended, not fired.
Initially.
Yeah.
But then the head of his contracting medical facility fired him from all positions. Not a suspension, a termination. This was due to the gravity of the criminal charges, the misuse of his professional power.
And the state medical board, that is where the ultimate authority lies.
The state medical board immediately initiated the formal process to revoke his medical license. This is not a fast process, but the charges attempted murder, misuse of controlled substances like Propofol, and utilizing his medical knowledge for criminal ends guarantee that revocation will be successful.
So he will never practice medicine again.
Never. Decades of specialized training and high-level trust just erased in an instant.
Simultaneously, the court moved to isolate him financially to protect the surviving family.
Yes. The court immediately restricted Koenig's access to all joint assets. This includes bank accounts, the family home, cars, and stock portfolios.
Why was that so crucial?
It was a crucial measure to ensure two things. First, that Ariel and the two young children had resources for recovery and survival. And second, to prevent Koenig from accessing liquid assets he might use to finance a complex escape attempt or further harass or threaten the victim. He was effectively rendered penniless in terms of accessible funds.
Now, let's talk about Ariel Koenig's strategic legal moves, because the sources suggest they are very sophisticated. Initially, she was granted a broad temporary restraining order, or TRO.
Right, and in it she detailed the years of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. But she later withdrew that TRO.
Why would she do that? That seems counterintuitive.
This is a critical legal subtlety.
Yeah.
She withdrew the civil restraining order without prejudice. That term is incredibly important.
What does it mean?
Without prejudice means that the plaintiff Ariel is free to refile the exact same claim later if circumstances change.
So she was keeping her options open. Why withdraw it in the first place then?
Because Koenig's indefinite detention without bail provided sufficient physical security. The civil order became legally unnecessary while he was locked away.
Ah, so her legal focus shifted.
Correctly. It shifted entirely to supporting the criminal conviction, which has a much higher bar of proof beyond a reasonable doubt and ensures he remains locked away for decades. If he were suddenly released on reduced bail or parole, she would immediately refile the TRO with prejudice to regain that civil protection.
That shows an incredible amount of legal fortitude and strategy on her part, focusing resources on the bigger battle.
It really does.
Beyond the criminal case, she also filed for divorce and is seeking the termination of Gart's parental rights for their two young sons.
And that divorce process is also being contested, even from behind bars. Her attorney requested that the divorce records and proceedings be sealed to protect the children from intense public scrutiny, but the judge denied the request.
Why?
Courts prioritize the public nature of proceedings, arguing that sealing the records would undermine transparency, even in cases of severe domestic violence involving children.
The final impact is the social shockwave. This case went international because of the sheer contrast between the alleged crime and the alleged criminal. The fact that a calm, logical anesthesiologist, a man of science, was the one orchestrating this violent, jealousy-fueled attack became a horrifying case study in intimate partner violence.
It served as a vital, if painful, reminder that high professional status, income, and education are absolutely no shield against becoming an abuser or a victim. The calculated, compartmentalized nature of Koenig's public life likely allowed him to hide his escalating jealousy and violence until it exploded in the most lethal manner possible.
And what's the current status?
Koenig remains detained without bail, pleading not guilty. The trial was tentatively set for June 9, 2025, with jury deliberations and legal motions ongoing as of late June 2025.
So we have journeyed through the evidence in this disturbing case, from the professional facade they built together to the terrifying events on that cliffside.
We've reviewed the critical turning points that define the state's case. The calculated choice of the dangerous, unguarded cliffside, the chilling discovery of the Propofol, proving the corruption and weaponization of his medical expertise.
The sustained intent shown through the three distinct attack methods, and the court's uncompromising stance on denying bail due to the high specific risk he posed.
It's an overwhelming amount of evidence pointing in one direction.
Here's where it gets really interesting, connecting back to the core of the criminal charge. This case dramatically illustrates how professional knowledge and tools, specifically the access control and chemical substances meant to heal and save lives, can be twisted and utilized to meticulously plan murder in a setting of intimate partner violence.
The tools of his trade became the instruments of his alleged crime.
Exactly.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to return to the defense's strategy. They attempted to pivot the argument away from Koenig's clear, articulated intent by emphasizing that the victim survived and her injuries were categorized as not life-threatening.
It's a bold move.
It is. And this raises an important question that the jury, and indeed society, must constantly grapple with. When is the intent to commit murder, demonstrated through meticulous planning and sequential lethal acts, powerful enough to outweigh the argument that the failure to kill, the lack of a lethal outcome, should reduce the charge to something less severe?
A question with no easy answer.
Not at all. You, the listener, must weigh the chilling evidence of his preparation against the fact of her survival as this complex story heads toward its final judgment.